The Tennessee race isn't the only sign that the mid-year elections are getting rough. Take a look at what Rush Limbaugh is saying about Michael J. Fox, the actor who suffers from Parkinson's disease and is campaigning for Democrats who support stem cell research. Limbaugh said Fox was acting, exploiting his illness when he taped this ad.
Stem cell research offers hope to millions of Americans with diseases like diabetes, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. But George Bush and Michael Steele would put limits on the most promising stem cell research.
He is moving all around and shaking, and it's purely an act.
Joining me now is Michael J. Fox. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
When you did the campaign ad, tell us what you were experiencing that day and what we were seeing as a result.
Well, on any given day, I have a thousand different things that I can feel, and I go through a million cycles over the course of a day. For example, right now, this is a dearth of medication. Not by design, I just take it and it kicks in when it kicks in. Sometimes it kicks in too hard, and then you get what's called dyskinesias, which is that rocking motion.
Rush Limbaugh suggested that you had failed to take your medication intentionally. So when you did that ad, you'd be more symptomatic and therefore more sympathetic.
The irony of it is that I was too medicated and was dyskinesic. Because the thing about being symptomatic is it's not comfortable. Nobody wants to be symptomatic. It's like wanting to hit yourself with a hammer. You know, you want at all times to be as comfortable as you can be. And at this point now, if I didn't take medication, I wouldn't be able to speak. I'd have a mask face. I wouldn't be able to speak, and I'd lock up and freeze and wouldn't be able to move. So there's no time that I'm not medicated. As you might know, I care deeply about stem cell research. In Missouri, you can elect Claire McCaskill, who shares my hope for cures. Unfortunately, Senator Jim Talent opposes expanding stem cell research. Senator Talent even wanted to criminalize the science that gives us a chance for hope. They say all politics is local, but it's not always the case. What you do in Missouri matters to millions of Americans. Americans like me.
As we told you on Monday, Rush Limbaugh attacked the ad and Mr. Fox on his radio show, but you really don't get the full impact until you see it for yourself.
In this commercial, he is exaggerating the effects of the disease. He is moving all around and shaking, and it's purely an act. This is the only time I have ever seen Michael J. Fox portray any of the symptoms of the disease he has. He can control himself enough to stay in the frame of the picture, and he can control himself enough to keep his eyes right on the lens, the teleprompter. But his head and shoulders are moving all over the place. So this is really shameless, folks. This is really shameless of Michael J. Fox. Either he didn't take his medication or he's acting.
In fact, ask a doctor. Fox's involuntary motions are not a side effect of going off his medication for Parkinson's. They are a side effect of taking it. When he and other victims do not take the drug, they become increasingly immobile. Eventually, they are unable to move at all.
When you saw Rush Limbaugh pretty much imitating you on his radio show, I know that played
I didn't see it.
On many media outlets. You haven't seen it?
No, I heard about it, but, you know, it's one of those things. I heard about it. My first thought was, no. You're kidding me.
So how did Mr. Fox respond to Limbaugh's assault on his integrity? A crack about Limbaugh's own medication history, perhaps? In fact, no, he responded with grace.
It's hard for people, and I understand it's difficult for people that don't have Parkinson's or don't know about Parkinson's to understand the symptoms and the way they work and the way medication works. You get what you get on any given day. And I knew there'd be that celebrity tag, which always kills me because the people who throw that celebrity tag around are themselves such huge celebrities and incredibly well-paid celebrities, and you know, really have no more God-given right to have the platform than I do or any American does. We all have a right to speak up and say what we think is right, and we all have a right to fight for the things that we believe in. And I believe that science should move forward in this country. Science is a big part of the American story, and we need to start writing a new chapter.
Rather than retract his baseless and factually incorrect assaults on Fox's integrity, Limbaugh first said he would apologize, quote, if I am wrong. Then yesterday he restated his claim that Fox had skipped his medication to embellish the effects of the disease as if it had been proven. And he went on to spin the story further, claiming that Democrats exploit infallible victims like Fox so that critics can't disagree. Let me call in Air America Radio's Sam Seder, whose Sam Seder Show airs every weekday morning. We spent a fair portion of this morning's program discussing both Fox and, I'm guessing, Mr. Limbaugh. Sam, good evening.
Thanks, Keith. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let me start with the obvious here. Should we not be deferring to Rush Limbaugh on this because he knows so much more about prescription drugs than the rest of the nation combined, because, in fact, this may be his only area of genuine expertise?
Well, if you're suggesting that perhaps Rush is jealous of Michael J. Fox, that Michael J. Fox gets his medication via prescription, I think you might be onto something. I think that the bottom line here is what you have is conservatives are very worried that people will actually see the real-world implications of their policies. I mean, this is all part of the fantasy world that they have to create for their followers, or people just won't subscribe to the ideology. This is what his audience needs. They need to be inoculated from the real-world truths of what the policies that the Rush Limbaughs of the world espouse. I mean, if they see these things, they need Rush to be there to give them an excuse to not take it seriously, and Rush provided it for him today. You know, he basically said disease is a liberal plot, and the reason why Iraqis are fighting each other is because they want the Democrats to win. It actually allows his listeners a free pass on what reality is really about.
There is an anti-stem cell research ad that's also supposed to air locally, at least in Missouri, during the World Series broadcast. It has athletes. It has the starting pitcher from Game 4 of the World Series. It has actors, people who are known less for their involvement in medical research than for their religious beliefs. It even starts in the Aramaic language with Jim Caviezel reprising his first line from the Mel Gibson movie, The Passion of the Christ. Is the subtext that the GOP will no longer even pretend to try to address substantive debate as long as they can go out and shoot for that fundamentalist base and hope they can drag these people to the polls in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not even sure if it's the subtext. I mean, it seems to be the text. They don't get that the reason why Michael J. Fox's ad is so powerful is not because Michael J. Fox was on Spin City or because he was in Back to the Future. It's because he has the disease. I mean, he actually feels the real-world implication.
I think I'm in this situation along with millions of other Americans, whether it's, like I said, for Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or ALS or diabetes or spinal cord injury or what have you. And we have a right, if there's answers out there, to pursue those answers with the full support of our politicians. And so I don't need anyone's permission to do that.
What about research on adult stem cells?
That's fantastic.
What about research on stem cells that have been culled from embryos and may be able to be produced synthetically? In other words, this is such a political hot potato, as you well know.
But the point of it is that the cells that we're not using, that are being wasted, hundreds of thousands of cells that are left over from in vitro fertilization, are being thrown away, are being wasted. They're not going to become life. They're not going to become life. They're being thrown away. So, in that sense, people say protecting the unborn, but they're going to be destroyed anyway. So let's use those cells to protect the unborn that are going to be born with diabetes. They're going to be born with genetic predisposition to Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, or are going to be injured as children and have spinal cord injury. I mean, that's the pro-life position.
As your symptoms become more severe and the medication becomes less efficacious as the years go by, how tough is this for you to sit here and talk to me like this?
Honestly, this is, you get in your life very few chances to make a difference. And I'm really, if this is the circumstances that make that possible, like I said, I'm grateful for it. When I'm in my life with my kids and hanging out, it's easier. There's not, stress is really an exacerbating factor. But having said that, yeah, it's not pretty. It's not pretty when it gets bad, and I've learned to throw vanity out the window. I mean, I had enough years of people thinking I was pretty and teenage girls hanging my picture on the wall. I'm over that now. Like I said, the chance that to just get people for 2 minutes to go, well, this is big. This is like it's not a wedge issue. This is not a thing. This is really about who we are as a country and how we feel about our people, and about the majority respecting the minority but moving forward with what they need. I want to make that point too, that people that are against stem cell research, embryonic or otherwise, whatever. I couldn't respect them more. If they prayed on it and they've thought about it and they can't get their head around it or their heart around it, then great. I mean, fantastic. I admire them and I respect them. All I say to them respectfully is, if there was a majority that also prayerfully and thoughtfully and emotionally and intellectually and in every other way weighed this and came on the other side and said, no, I think it's the right thing to do, to very carefully tread these waters to save these lives, then you have to respect that too. And don't resort to name-calling or inflammatory language or mocking or whatever you need to do. Just have a discussion about it, and we'll see what happens.
Yo.